A Nashville landlord and tenant are dealing with too much red tape when trying to get rental assistance. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an article for you today, and this is a good example of exactly how much the bureaucracy is affecting the landlords being able to get rental assistance for their tenants who were affected by the pandemic. Okay, so it's coming out of Nashville, and it's just a really good example. But before I get into that article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and I'll keep working to bring you great articles about the eviction moratorium and other news that's of interest to landlords. So this comes to us from WPLN.org, and it says, a Nashville landlord and tenant struggle with red tape while waiting for rent relief. Yeah, I've gone over a lot of articles just talking about how bureaucracy has really slowed down the rent relief for landlords and tenants, okay? And it's true all throughout the country. It's not a red state or a blue state or a Democrat or Republican thing. This is a problem with government as a whole, okay? And it hurts me to see it because, you'll see states like Tennessee and Texas, and they're struggling with the same problems as New York and California when it comes to actually getting the rental relief to the landlords who need it. So let's get into this article and see what it says. A Nashville landlord and tenant are finally getting some answers on when financial relief will come after waiting since March. The pair applied for funding from the Metro Action Commission, which has been using federal money to keep renters in their homes during the pandemic. But the government red tape creates hurdles even if both parties are on board. It's been close to 4 months since Becky George and her old Hickory Village landlord applied for funding from the city, and the process of getting help has left feelings of confusion and frustration. George says she's had to make 3 trips downtown already, and it's hurt her business as a house cleaner. Wow, okay? They put in the application initially 4 months ago to get this rental assistance, and she's had to make continual trips downtown to, I don't know what even for, but trying to get the application rolling. I mean, that's completely ridiculous. I mean, how do they expect anyone to want to deal with a program where you're constantly driving into town to make trips and waiting for months on end to get rental assistance? I mean, she's fortunate that she has a landlord willing to work with her, and the landlord's fortunate that they have a tenant who is willing to go through all of this just to get the rental assistance. But I mean, this is too much for a lot of tenants and landlords to deal with, and this is why a lot of landlords don't want to even accept rental assistance, and why a lot of tenants don't want to participate in the programs and just stay in their place because they know they can't be evicted anyway. We're losing income, she says. To try to get the income in here we need, it's really hard to understand sometimes. Judge Rachel Bell runs the Legacy Housing Court. She says each step is needed to do status checks since each case is different. While sitting in the courtroom, some residents were told documents were missing or where their application stood in the process. The structure has been put in place to assist the landlord and tenant from being lax on the sense of urgency that is needed, Bell tells WPLN News via email. Wow. I mean, give me a break. I mean, what is this judge even thinking, okay? 4 months later, and the judge thinks, this is what's necessary. I mean, the tenant should be allowed to submit any extra documents electronically and get the rental assistance rolling ASAP. This shouldn't be you're driving down to the courthouse every other day and waiting for months to get approval. I mean, what kind of joke is this? I mean, just thinking of trying to get one of my tenants to do this for me, and I have a lot of lower income tenants, and they're busy, they're working, they have families, they don't have time to be running downtown trying to make sure everything is perfect for the judge. Now, if they said, hey, if you can upload your documents online, and we'll go through these documents and we'll get an answer back to you within a week or two, that is what's acceptable, okay? Not 4 months later, because it's only making things worse, this long delay and all these ridiculous requirements, okay? Afterward, Mac employees meet them outside to answer questions and guide them to the next step. It's on the fourth trip when the status check focuses on pending payment and settling the case. By that point, the chaos of each trip for Thomas Nilsson had taken a toll on the landlord. I wrote on my calendar with exclamation points, 10:30, be here at 4D, he said around 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday. And I got here and sat in court for an hour worth of criminal cases. It wasn't until he went downstairs to the clerk that he learned evictions start at 3:30 p.m. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I feel for this landlord, okay? He's going through basically a bureaucratic mess. Now, they even told him, oh yeah, you have to make these 4 trips to get it. And I'm like, why are they making this so hard for landlords to get? They didn't make the PPP program hard to get for business owners. No, they made it so that they could get the money quickly and easily and keep their businesses, their business employees paid. And that's what they should have done for landlords with the rental assistance. But they instead chose to go through this horrible bureaucratic mess where you're back and forth in and out of housing court trying to get rental assistance. And I'm like, why? Why did they do this? It's like they want to make things worse, and this is really the reason why there's going to be a lot of evictions when this eviction moratorium ends, because they didn't do their job to make sure that the landlords got paid the money that they were owed. And now the landlords are being left with no choice, and they're going to have to go through the eviction process. While talking to Mac, he got more understanding of how the system works and was told he has to come back in August since there's a backlog of cases and limited staff to work through it all. I'm rolling my eyes right now. Mac told city council members last week that they're working to hire more people. Nilsson says he understands they're doing the best they can. The CDC extended their eviction moratorium to the end of July, but it isn't automatic, so some people have fallen through. Meanwhile, the Metro Action Commission has taken some heat for moving slowly in doling out funds. Yeah, it sounds like the Metro Action Committee doesn't know what they're doing, and they're talking about hiring people. I mean, that can take months to hire good people to get in there and be able to help administer all this mess. So all they have is basically this huge mess. And I can't put all of the blame on local governments. I have to really put this on the federal government because, yeah, they allocated the funds, but they didn't put a system into place to get the funds to the people, okay? And they left that all up to the local government. And then they put a lot of stipulations on these funds. So now the government had to create these systems of bureaucracy to verify that the tenants and the landlords actually qualified for the relief. So, yeah, I mean, this really falls down to the federal government. And, what they should have done instead was they should have just made it super easy for the landlords to get these funds, okay? Because now we're just put in a situation where we're going to have a ton of tenants who are getting evicted when the eviction moratorium ends. And, a lot of landlords who are not going to get any relief. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. But, this whole bureaucratic mess is just... It's completely ridiculous, and it's a problem throughout the entire country.